Tevye the Dairyman is the fictional narrator and protagonist of a series of short stories by Sholem Aleichem, originally written in Yiddish, and first published in 1894. The character is best known from the fictional memoir Tevye and His Daughters as a pious Jewish milkman in Tsarist Russia with 6 troublesome daughters: Tzeitel, Hodel, Chava, Shprintze, Bielke, and Teibel. He is also known from the musical dramatic adaptation of Tevye and His Daughters, Fiddler on the Roof.The Village of Boyberik, where the stories are set, is based on the town of Boyarka in Ukraine. Tevye begins his literary life in 1894 with 7 daughters. Over time, as Tevye tells Aleichem the tales of his family life, 6 of his 7 daughters are named, and of these 5 play leading roles in Tevye's stories. The Tevye stories tell of his business dealings, the romantic dealings and marriages of several of his daughters, and the expulsion of the Jews from the village by the Russian government. The Tevye stories have been adapted for stage and film several times, including several Yiddish-language musicals. Most famously, it was adapted as the Broadway musical and later film Fiddler on the Roof. The Broadway musical was based on a play written by Arnold Pearl called Tevye and His Daughters. Tevye the Dairyman had 3 film adaptations, in Yiddish, English and Russian. Stories. Tevye the Dairyman comprises 8 stories, with Tevye each time supposedly meeting Sholem Aleichem by chance and relating the latest tale of his trials and tribulations. Tevye strikes it rich. Tevye blows a small fortune. Today's children. Hodel, Chava, Shprintze. Tevye leaves for the land of Israel. Leko. The original stories included events not depicted in Fiddler on the Roof. For instance, by the time of the events of Leko, Tevye's wife Golden Tzzeitel's husband Motiel have both died. Also, in Leko, upon learning of the Jews' expulsion, Chava leaves her Russian Orthodox husband, wanting to return to her family and share their exile. Aleichem leaves it to the reader to decide whether Tevye forgives her and takes her back, saying, "Put yourself in Tevye's place and tell me honestly, in plain language, what you would have done," and ending the story with "The old God of Israel still lives." Translations. A 2009 translation includes a final short story entitled Vashalakokos that takes place after Leko. Other translations include Aleichem, Sholem Aleichem's Tevye the Dairyman, Miriam Katz Transl, Pangloss, ISBN 0-9347-10317. Tevye's Daughters, Collected Stories of Sholem Aleichem, Francis Butwin Transl, Sholem Aleichem Family, ISBN 1-9290-6803-4. Until recently, this translation seems to have been the standard published version. Audio adaptations. The Tevye stories have been recorded and commercially released twice. Aleichem, Sholem, Tevye the Dairyman and the Railroad Stories. Format requires URL or Audio Renaissance. Theodore Bickel Reader, Macmillan Audio. ISBN 978-1-559-27379-4. With 6 of the stories, Tevye strikes it rich. Tevye blows a small fortune. Today's children. Hodel, Chava and Leko. Tevye the Milkman. Format requires URL classic fiction. Neville Jason Narrator. Naxos Audiobooks. ISBN 9789626349342. Sequels. 2 sequels to the Tevye stories have been published. Bard, Mitchell G. After Anitiuka, Tevye in Palestine. Create Space. ISBN 1-4819-07131. Fishman, TZVI. Tevye in the Promised Land. Create Space. ISBN 1-4662-20872. Portrayals. 0. Mostel and Chaim Topol are the two actors most associated with the role of Tevye, although Theodor Bielke performed it many times on stage. For the film version, the part ultimately went to Topol, as producer-director Norman Jewison felt that Mostel's portrayal was too unnecessarily comic. He was nominated for an Academy Award for his performance in the film version of Fiddler. Other noteworthy musical Tevyes have included Luther Adler, Herschel Bernardi, Paul Lipson, Leonard Nimoy, Shmuel Rudensky, Alfred Molina and Harvey Fierstein, Henry Goodman and Danny Burstein. Paul Michael Glaser, who played Perchik in the film version, played Tevye in a 2013-14 touring production in the United Kingdom. Tevye is the name of a 1939 film adaptation of the story, performed entirely in Yiddish. In this adaptation, Tevye, played by Morris Schwartz, narrates the events and is a main character. He is portrayed as gruff with flashes of wit and humor. Prior to the 1964 Broadway debut of Fiddler on the Roof, adaptations of the Tevye stories appeared on stage and screen in America and beyond. The earliest screen version was an American silent film called Broken Barriers, based on Rabinowitz's own theatrical treatment. It was released in 1919. The Internet Movie Database also lists a German film from 1962 called Tevye and His Daughters, released in America as Tevye and His 7 Daughters. After Fiddler on the Roof became a Broadway sensation, an Israeli film called Tevye the Shiva Benatav was released in 1968, as well as 2 Russian versions, Tevye Moloknik in 1985, and Izide in 1991. Bibliography. Liptzen, Sol, A History of Yiddish Literature, Middle Village, NY, Jonathan David, pp. 68-70, ISBN 0824601246, Hutner, Jan Lisa, Tevye's Daughters, No Laughing Matter, New York, New York, FF2 Media, Hassan BOONQDQCTG.